Hey everyone, it's Wednesday, time for Wisdom Wednesday. I hope you all are doing well and starting off the new year in a great way. I've taken a couple of weeks off here and just to be with family and celebrate the holidays. So kind of back, and it is the beginning of a new year. So I thought I would kind of give you a summary of what we've seen in the last few years, particularly last year, in terms of what is happening in the world of what we call biohacking or age management medicine. And just a reminder in reviewing the book that James Clear wrote about atomic habits, and maybe looking at ways that we can, perhaps if you've made some New Year's resolutions, then begin to implement this. So in looking back over the last year or so, what are the things that are really kind of coming to the top as far as how we want to manage our aging? And what we're seeing a lot of course, is just how tech has entered our world, and wearable tech in particular. We have the Oura Ring here. I kind of have it, both my rings on, but the Oura Ring, and then Apple Watch or Fitbits or Garmin's, whatever that may be, that are trackable type devices that give us data and information for which we can then use to make determinations of how we are responding in different ways. Certainly we know that there is the continuous glucose monitors, which for many people is very beneficial for trying to evaluate how your body responds to foods, and particular insulin response. We're not getting insulin specifically, we're getting glucose, but that gives us somewhat of a reflection of what is happening underneath the hood as far as insulin is concerned. We can track metrics in many ways. We're not able really to do blood pressure, but I get a little reminder from my watch, maybe it's from the Oura Ring, about whether or not I'm having any AFib, and it's fortunately nothing is showing up, but it's interesting that it evaluates that for us, and we can actually run an EKG off of our watch. I get monitors every morning of my sleep, and it can be very valuable in terms of, I remember when I first got my Oura Ring and understanding that I had horrible deep sleep, and then using that information to go about trying to sort of hack that, if you will, getting better sleep. So I find that that's very beneficial. The other things that are kind of coming to fruition, when we had our hormone update meeting this year, Chris Palmer was there, who wrote Brain Energy, and this deals with the mental health field and how we are using different modalities and approaches to mental illness, in particular understanding the aspects of the microbiome and our gut and how that affects mental health, how nutrition and lifestyle affect mental health, and then looking at ways that we are using, besides just some of the oral pharmaceutical medications out there, but looking at ketamine use and microdosing and psilocybin, LSD, that type of thing, that can be very helpful, in looking at mushrooms and how they can be beneficial as well. I know that when I was trying to troubleshoot my deep sleep, I started using some mushroom tinctures, particularly lion's mane and reishi mushrooms at night. And these are just in little aliquots of tinctures, and just put it in the water that I was taking some of my nighttime meds with, and made a huge difference. Also, blue blocking glasses are very beneficial. The other things that we've talked about over the last year or two, certainly the biggest changer of the just pharmaceutical industry has been these GLP-1 type of medications, these injectables for weight loss. They've been hugely helpful and beneficial. And of course, there is a lot of negative press on it, but the reality is we've had numerous patients on these, and they've all done exceedingly well, with very rare exceptions. There are side effects, and we understand that those are manageable and generally still are very beneficial, and we see much improvement in blood work, particularly lipids and sugar numbers, and people are doing quite well. We're fortunate in our patient population in that most of our patients do a pretty good job of continuing to work out, so we're not seeing a lot of muscle loss, even though with any kind of weight loss program, you're going to lose some muscle. There's no doubt about that. So these GLP-1s have been kind of a real game changer. and I think will continue to be, and there'll be newer ones coming out as well. Also, we've talked in the past about the senolytics out there, those the medications that kind of help, the supplements that kind of help clean up all the dead cells as we age. Quercetin, Fisetin, those are two of the easiest ones that we can get. We also have talked about hormetic stressors that are quite valuable to help rejuvenate and put enough of a stress on the body so that it can then utilize that stress to become stronger. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. So things like ice baths and cold plunging and cryo machines and using cold and then sauna with heat. These are stressors to the body that help in the rejuvenation. Red light therapy can also be quite beneficial. So that's out there. The other things that we've looked at have been understanding about increasing protein and being very proactive about concentrating on protein in our diet so that we can maintain good muscle. And we know that we've learned that muscle is very beneficial, and this pendulum of protein versus no protein in the diet, or lower protein versus higher protein, is out there and in the aspect of what we're hearing in the press and whether or not to do. I think that the data is pretty clear that we want to maintain good muscle and we don't want to lose muscle as we age. People with more muscle just do better when the ravages of time kind of hit us. So that's an important thing. And then the other thing I was reminded of is that book, Atomic Habits. And what a good time to maybe review some of that. And just briefly, I listened to a podcast that was done a couple of years ago just to reiterate that. I had read the book a couple of years ago as well. And so with that, what we need to do, the 4 stages of sort of changing a habit, or the 4 laws as he calls it, you want to make it invisible. You want to make that first law, you want to make it obvious. You want to remove the exposure and make it more attractive. You want to make it easy, and you want to make it satisfying. So these are the 4 laws: to make it obvious, and then you make it attractive, you want it to be easy, and you want it to be more satisfying. And in order to do that, it's evaluating what it is that you would like to change and removing those obstacles into place, trying to avoid things when you know that you might be attracted to something that you really want to change. You want to change your environment, get away from people. If you want to say stop drinking, get away from people who are big drinkers. Just don't put yourself in that situation. And likewise, make it easy and attractive, and then look at the upside of that so that you can be satisfied and feel comfortable with these changes. If you are really struggling with making any changes, I would suggest that you look at that book. It's quite, I think, helpful, and he gives quite a few examples of ways that you can begin to work on these habits and making it very simple and easy. And it doesn't have to, you don't want to set yourself up for failure by any means. But at the first of the year, I think this is a great opportunity to look at this in a way that might enable you to meet many of your goals if you have really made some New Year's resolutions. Hope you all had a great holiday season, and we're back in the office, and if there are things that you need, please feel free to reach out. Hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk again next week.